What is going on, guys? It's Reflex here, and let's talk about Melody of Memory. Now, I was going to upload my reaction to the end cutscenes as well as pretty much all of the Kairi cutscenes from the game, but instead, I just want to talk about the future of Kingdom Hearts, and how it set up Kingdom Hearts 4, because spoilers ahead, obviously, so if you have not played it or you don't really want to know exactly, we're not going to go too in depth on it, but I'm still going to talk about it. So if you don't want any spoilers at all, I would suggest clicking off this video now and coming back to it at a later date. But with Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory being over for me, I'm still going to play it, but the story wise, it did set up Kingdom Hearts 4 in a very good way. One, we found out what the place where Yozora is, or we versus 13, but it's really Verum Rex, but it's actually called, the place it's called is Quadratum, which is a cool, I like the name. It's very Final Fantasy-esque, sounding of a place, and I always wanted a Final Fantasy world, and this is technically an original world, so it won't even be labeled Final Fantasy, but us fans of Final Fantasy and Versus 13, or even if you played 15, you see the similarities, and you see this place that you would know as Insomnia, but it's called Quadratum, and that is where Riku is going. We actually talked to the star. We don't have her name yet, but it's the girl that's in the Verum Rex trailer that we see when we first go into the Toy Box world. And I really want to know what her name is possibly going to be for this game, or at least for Kingdom Hearts 4, because in Versus 13, her name was Stella, and in Final Fantasy 15, the same girl was Luna Freya. So I'm curious what they're going to name her in the world of Quadratum, but she was responsible for being one of the leading factors to bring Riku to that world, because it was not a realm of in the darkness, it wasn't a realm in the light, it was a world a realm on the other side, a place that they could not reach, but it just so happened in the final world there was a star that was from that world, which we still don't know her name, as I said, but I'm just going to call her Stella or Luna Freya, whichever comes to my mind first when I say it. But pretty much they talked to her, and her and Kairi and Riku were having a conversation with her, talking about how there is a person in their world, and she lost, I guess technically she lost her heart, so they can't exactly, they have to reclaim it or something. I kind of forget that part, but essentially she is the factor that brings Riku to Quadratum to help look for Sora, because she heard the name Sora. She didn't exactly know where, but she heard of that name, and it was interesting. But then we have Kairi. We have Kairi that's going to be training with Aqua. Now, I would love to see, I'm just curious to see in Kingdom Hearts 4, because for me, Melody of Memory was cool, and I like that I got to play as Kairi a little bit, but it wasn't playing as her in the way that I want. I want a game that's literally focused on Kairi herself, by me playing as her throughout the whole time. And I wouldn't mind if this was that game to do it. Have it to where Sora kind of takes a backseat, because since we're looking for Sora, have him be the damsel in distress, Have him be that person that, alright, we're not going to play as him as much maybe until the end, but the sole focus of Kingdom Hearts 4 is to find him. So let us play as Riku and be in the world of Quadratum. Let us play as Kairi, and maybe her and Aqua will have this whole just arc of training, and maybe have their own storyline that we could do, and have us play as either Aqua and Kairi, or just Kairi. I think that would be awesome. But then we have Mickey. Now Mickey is kind of interesting, because he has his own little journey that Yensid gave him, where he's going to actually travel to figure out if he can, I don't know if the whole thing was to find these ancient Keyblade wielders, or to just find clues of whereabouts or something, just kind of regarding Scala ad Kylum. That's where he's going. He's going to Scala ad Kylum, and they sure did make it seem very intense when Yensid said it, because I don't know what he's gonna find there. It would be awesome if Mickey has his own little arc where he goes there and it actually runs into Lucia and the Foretellers. I think that'd be pretty badass. But when it comes to Kingdom Hearts 4, that's literally, there's 3 different storylines. Obviously, we still have Sora's storyline himself. I'm not entirely sure what his storyline would actually pertain to in Kingdom Hearts 4, because I don't want it to be too many things at once. Because normally with Kingdom Hearts, at least for these past games in Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and 3, it's normally following Sora. And while, you know, you would have the struggles of Riku finding his way, or, you know, like, there's always been branching paths, but there hasn't been so many different storylines happening at the same time that it was hard to follow. But for this game, you got Mickey going one direction, you got Kairi doing her own thing, and you got Riku doing his own thing. So I feel like if they do introduce Sora in a way and have him do his own thing, it would be a lot of just going back and forth between everything, and I don't know if I would necessarily like that. I think what I would like is Kingdom Hearts 4 to deal with the trio of Kairi, Mickey, and Riku, but then have a side game where maybe it's another Dream Drop Distance style thing where you're playing as Sora and Shibuya, and maybe, I don't know, have his own game, but it's a side game where just you're playing as him and doing that whole arc, and it's just him alone. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm curious what Kingdom Hearts 4 is really going to set up, because Melody of Memory did a good job. I mean, even with Kairi's story of just like her remembering things, because she ended up in the final world and she was remembering, you know, obviously Terranor at the time, that we already know that whole entire story, but yeah, she was captured by him to have her because her heart would actually draw him to a Keyblade wielder. That Keyblade wielder was obviously probably originally supposed to be Riku, but then it ended up being Sora instead, and he sent her to the world of Destiny Islands, and obviously that kind of propelled the story forward into the Kingdom Hearts that we know. You get later on, you find Master of Masters that everyone was thinking was Master of Masters. I always thought it wasn't, because I was just like, he doesn't look the same. Obviously, the Melody of Memory, Master of Masters, you know, but for some reason, I was just never one that was like, we're not going to figure out the identity of him, and that's probably not him at all. I thought they were going to play a trick to where Masters of Masters was actually going to be Sora instead, you know, as a joke or as like a troll, because obviously Master of Masters is pulling the strings of everything. But instead it was Xehanort. It was actually old Xehanort, Master Xehanort, the man, and pretty much having an ongoing conflict between Kairi and Xehanort, because Kairi and Xehanort actually go further back than even Sora and Riku and all them. Like, Kairi, as a child, seen the whole process. She's seen Terranort, and that was far before like the initial meeting of Ansem with Sora, or even kind of Riku. They all met Ansem at that point, but like this was a little bit different. Like, Kairi's story branches far, far beyond what we thought. I mean, obviously we knew with Kairi's grandma, you know, like her whole story, which is not a big story, but we knew that Kairi had a bigger story to tell, but they just weren't telling it. But with Melody of Memory, it really set up a lot. And watching the cutscenes, I really did enjoy and kind of piece together that Kairi's story could be very, very good. I mean, it's getting better now from what we've gotten before, and that's what I liked about Melody of Memory. At least I really wish we would have gotten to play as her, but just the ability to now finally in Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind and Melody of Memory to finally give Kairi the story that she deserves, rather than her being the damsel in distress. You know, I enjoy that greatly. Now, if the next game we get to see her training and then she actually becomes as badass, because when she was fighting Xehanort, she looked as badass as I was hoping that she would look back in Kingdom Hearts 3, like before, or even Kingdom Hearts 2 a little bit. When she first got the Keyblade, I was like, oh yeah, she's gonna be badass. But obviously she didn't know how to wield it at the time, because she literally just got the Keyblade. But in Kingdom Hearts 3, I expected a little bit more, but it wasn't bad. But they only showed her just like not doing much. But then Remind, you start to see exactly what she's capable of, and then in this, you really get to see what she's capable of. And she, honestly, from what we see, she has a ton of potential to probably almost rival Sora and Riku, to be quite honest. And she probably will have a different set of abilities and a different skill set that Riku and Sora can't even obtain. Like, I might make a video just about that alone, because I think her ceiling will be far greater than any other Keyblade wielder, and she might be the key to I don't know exactly what's needed anymore since the Xehanort saga is over. I don't really necessarily know what saga we're at right now. We're kind of like, I would say we're in the bridge between sagas right now. We're just finished Xehanort saga, and now we have to save Sora, which will bridge into probably the new saga, which is gonna be Sora and the gang versus the Foretellers, Master of Masters, and Lucia probably. So that will be interesting, but I do think that Kairi will be the key, so we'll make a video about that in the future. But yes, I'm excited for the future of Kingdom Hearts. I cannot wait. Let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think of Melody of Memory's story. If you guys did finish it or played it, are you enjoying the game? I will be playing it in about a couple weeks. I'm just kind of getting my bearings on all the games that I want to play. I'm playing Demon's Souls right now, and I'm also playing Call of Duty and stuff, and I'm really enjoying the PS5. It's a great console. But yes, I'm excited for Kingdom Hearts 4. I cannot wait. That should be the very next game that comes out. At least, if judging by what Nomura said, that has to be the next game that comes out probably in 2022, 2023. He said he's going to aim for 2022 as the next release, but I wouldn't mind if it's 2023 as long as we get a Kingdom Hearts game. And to be honest, Melody of Memory worked. It did its job, and always side games do their job to make me hype. But this one really did its job because I'm finally getting the Kairi story that I always wanted. So, I mean, yeah, I'm excited. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. And if you guys did enjoy this video, leave a like, subscribe, and you guys know the drill. I will see you guys later.